Pardon me, I need to check how much is in my account. A black child stood there at the counter wearing shoes that had seen better days. He was 10 years old, his soles were split open, the laces were coming apart, and a second-hand coat hung off his skinny shoulders like it was 3 sizes too big. The bank manager froze. His eyes traveled from the kid's face down to his feet, taking their sweet time. Then he just lost it, started laughing right there. You want to check your account? His words bounced off every wall in that fancy lobby. This isn't some community center or homeless shelter, kid. This is First National Heritage Bank. Bradley Whitmore moved in closer. The expensive cologne he wore couldn't hide the nastiness written all over his face. Take a good look at those raggedy shoes. Take a good look at that black skin. He was really putting on a show now, shaking his head like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Just another black kid with his hand out. You're all cut from the same cloth. Get lost before I have security drag you out. We deal with actual paying customers here. The security guard started walking over, his hand already resting on that nightstick. Some rich guy in the back started yelling, "Just throw the little punk out. He's making the whole place smell bad." Everyone started laughing harsh, loud, all aimed at this one small kid. Nobody stepped up to defend him, not a soul. But none of them had a clue what was about to go down. In less than 60 minutes, Bradley Whitmore would be on his knees, not begging for cash, but begging to save himself. Wesley Brooks didn't bolt. He didn't yell or cry. He planted his feet right where they were, exactly like Grandma Eleanor had taught him. "I do have an account with you." His voice was shaky, but it held. "My grandma set it up for me. She died 2 months back. This is what she left behind." He held up this brown envelope. Everything was inside papers, the bank card, a letter Grandma had written before she passed. Bradley Whitmore rolled his eyes so hard you could practically hear it. "Your grandmother." He glanced around at everyone watching, playing to the crowd. "Let me take a wild guess. She also left you some mansion out in the Hamptons, right? Maybe a private plane too?" More laughter. These wealthy folks were eating it up. Chelsea Morrison, the head teller, leaned way over her station with her lip all twisted up in disgust. "Should I dial 911, sir? This kid's obviously trying to pull something." Bradley waved his hand around. "Hold on, let's see what kind of scam this is first." He grabbed that envelope right out of Wesley's hands, yanked the papers out without any care. His eyes scanned everything with complete boredom and contempt. Then he spotted the bank card, black, top tier, platinum reserve level, the kind they only gave to clients with serious money. Just for a second, something changed in Bradley's expression. Maybe confusion, maybe a flicker of doubt. But prejudice? That's one powerful thing. It blinds you to what's staring you right in the face. Bradley pushed that doubt away fast. "Where'd you lift this from?" He waved the card around like it was evidence in some trial. "A black kid from the projects carrying a platinum reserve card. You seriously think I'm buying that?" Wesley's hands started trembling. "I didn't steal nothing. It's mine. My grandma." "Your grandma?" Bradley cut him off. "Nothing." He tossed the card down on the counter. It slid across that shiny marble surface. "Listen, kid. I've worked in banking for 15 years. I can spot a fake a mile away." He pointed toward the far corner by the janitor's closet, near the bathroom, the absolute worst spot in the whole building. "Park yourself over there. Don't move a muscle. Don't talk to anybody. I'm calling headquarters to check out this so-called account of yours." Wesley walked to that corner with his head hanging down, his shoulders all hunched over. Every step felt heavier than the one before. He dropped into the cold metal chair. Alone, surrounded by all that marble and brass and money that seemed to mock those beat-up shoes of his. He pulled out Grandma Eleanor's letter. Her handwriting was all shaky, but you could feel the love in every word. "My brave Wesley, don't ever let anyone convince you you're less than. You're worth more than they could ever understand." He read those lines 3 times, trying to make himself believe them. His phone vibrated, text from Uncle Lawrence. "Still stuck in this meeting. I'll be there in 20 minutes. You're doing amazing, champ." Wesley almost cracked a smile. He had no idea how much those 20 minutes were going to change absolutely everything. Asterisk, asterisk. The waiting game. Asterisk, asterisk. 15 minutes crawled by, then 20. Then 25. Wesley sat in that corner, like he was invisible, like he'd been erased from existence. The bank kept humming with life all around him. People walked in and out. Tellers kept smiling and processing their transactions. Everything rolled on like normal, just not for Wesley. He watched Bradley Whitmore helping some white guy in a golf shirt set up a fresh account. The man had shown up 15 minutes after Wesley did, got helped right away. No questions, no suspicion, no demands for extra proof, just smiles and handshakes and welcome to First National Heritage. He watched Chelsea Morrison bring Bradley coffee from the break room. They stood together near the water cooler, laughing. Their eyes kept sliding over to Wesley's corner. More laughter. He couldn't catch what they were saying. Didn't need to. Some wealthy woman in designer everything deposited what looked like thousands of dollars. The whole thing took maybe 3 minutes. She left without even glancing at the black kid sitting alone by the janitor's closet. This older woman, Diane Campbell, wrapped up her business at the main counter. She was different from everyone else. She looked over at Wesley. Her face got tight with something that looked like discomfort. Maybe guilt. For just a moment, Wesley thought maybe she'd walk over. Maybe ask if he was all right. Maybe be the one single person in this entire place who'd show some basic human decency. But she didn't. She just grabbed her designer purse a little tighter and headed for the door. Her heels clicked against that marble floor. Each click like a tiny betrayal. Wesley pulled Grandma Eleanor's letter out again. The paper was getting soft from being handled so much. The corners were starting to fray, just like his nerves. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and loved more than you know. Grandma used to read him that line every single night before bed. She told him some famous writer said it. Winnie the Pooh, she'd say with this little wink. Even bears understand wisdom. He couldn't remember the writer's name, just remembered her voice. Warm like honey, safe like a fortress, gone like smoke. His phone buzzed again. Uncle Lawrence. Meeting going longer than I thought. 15 more minutes. Hang in there, champ. Wesley typed back with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. Okay. He didn't mention the laughing, the insults, the way Bradley looked at him like he was trash that needed throwing out. He didn't want Uncle Lawrence to worry. 30 minutes now. Still waiting. Still invisible. A security guard named Jerome Davis was standing near the entrance. He was black like Wesley, mid-50s maybe, tired eyes that had witnessed too much. Gray was creeping into his close-cut hair. Jerome had seen everything, the insults, the laughter, how Bradley destroyed this boy right in front of everyone. He wanted to say something. God, he really wanted to. But he had a mortgage, 2 kids in college, 11 years at this bank building toward a pension. Staying quiet meant keeping his job. Keeping his job meant survival. Survival meant his family didn't wind up homeless. Jerome looked away. Hated himself for it. Looked away anyway. Asterisk, asterisk. The interrogation asterisk, asterisk. Finally, after 32 minutes, Bradley called Wesley over. Not to the main counter where regular customers got served, to some small desk shoved in the back corner, away from the nice banking areas, away from the comfortable chairs and free coffee, visible to everyone, but isolated like he was some animal in a zoo. Wesley sat down in that hard plastic chair, laid his grandmother's documents on the desk real carefully. Bradley didn't touch them, didn't even look at them. Let's try this one more time. His voice was ice cold, clinical, the voice of someone performing for the security cameras. You're claiming you've got an account at this bank, claiming your grandmother left you money, but you've got no real ID, no guardian here with you, no proof of where you live. And, honestly, kid, you don't look like someone who belongs in a place like this. Wesley's throat got tight. I have my school ID, and my grandma's letter, and the bank card with my name right on it. Bradley picked up that school ID with just 2 fingers, like it might be contaminated. Lincoln Elementary School. 5th grade. He tossed it back on the desk. It slid toward Wesley, almost fell right off the edge. This doesn't prove a damn thing. Any kid can get a school ID. Doesn't mean you've got money in our bank. He held up the card again. Where are your parents? The question hit Wesley like a punch to the gut. His dad had taken off before he was even born. His mom died when he was 3. Car crash. He couldn't even remember her face, except from photos. "I live with my uncle." His voice came out small, wounded. "And where is this mysterious uncle of yours?" "He's coming. He's in a meeting, an important one." Bradley leaned way back in his fancy leather chair, crossed his arms over his expensive silk tie. "A meeting? Of course he is. How convenient." That smirk on his face was ugly as hell. "Let me guess, he's the CEO of some Fortune 500 company, right? That's why a 10-year-old black kid in garbage shoes has a platinum reserve card, because his uncle's so rich and powerful." Before Wesley could answer, Chelsea showed up next to Bradley. She bent down, whispered something in his ear. They both turned to stare at Wesley. Chelsea's smirk matched Bradley's perfectly. "I don't know what kind of con you and your so-called uncle are running," Bradley said louder now, wanting everyone to hear, "but it's not going to work here. I'm freezing this account until we complete a full investigation." Wesley's eyes went huge. "You can't do that. That's my grandma's money. She saved her whole entire life." "Your grandma?" Bradley's voice was dripping with sarcasm, every word like a little knife. "Right, the teacher who supposedly left you a fortune. Tell me something, kid. What did she really do? Rob a bank herself? Sell drugs? What?" The words just hung there in the air like poison. Wesley felt something break inside his chest, right in the spot where he kept Grandma Eleanor's memory protected. Asterisk, asterisk, public abuse of power. Asterisk, asterisk. Bradley stood up from his desk, straightened his tie, smoothed his jacket. Then he raised his voice, made absolutely certain the entire lobby could hear every single word. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption." His voice carried like some practiced actor's. "This is what we deal with every single day. People who don't belong in establishments like this, trying to take what isn't theirs." 6 customers watched the show. Some nodded along, their prejudices all confirmed. Others looked uncomfortable but kept their mouths shut. Nobody spoke up. Diane Campbell had come back. She'd made it all the way to her car in the parking lot, but she couldn't turn that key, couldn't drive away. Something, guilt, conscience, basic humanity had dragged her back inside. Now she stood near the entrance, watching everything play out. Her hands were shaking. "I don't know where you stole that card." Bradley kept going, pointing at Wesley like some prosecutor in a courtroom. "I don't know what kind of lies people have been feeding you, but you are not getting a single penny from this bank. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever." Wesley's vision got all blurry with tears. He tried to hold them back. "Boys don't cry," some voice in his head whispered. Grandma's voice answered back, "Boys feel, Wesley. Feeling is strength." "My grandma worked 40 years. His voice cracked, but he pushed through. "She was a teacher at Lincoln Elementary. She saved everything for me. She promised. Spare me the sob story." Bradley's voice was like a slap. "I've heard them all before. Every con artist's got a dead grandmother and some tragic tale." He turned to Jerome, still standing by the entrance. "Security, escort this kid out of my bank, now." Jerome didn't move. His feet felt like they were nailed to that marble floor. "Did you hear me?" Bradley's voice got sharp. "I said now." Jerome walked toward Wesley slow, each step like a small death of his self-respect. 11 years of silence. 11 years of watching Bradley humiliate people who didn't fit his image of a real customer. Immigrants struggling with English, women in thrift store clothes, elderly people confused by all the technology. Anyone who looked poor, sounded different, seemed vulnerable. Jerome had never said a word. Not once. Not ever. Today was no different. Today, he was still a coward. He stopped right in front of Wesley, extended his hand, couldn't meet the boy's eyes. Wesley stood up on his own, didn't need any help. He picked up his grandmother's letter from the desk, pressed it against his heart like a shield, walked toward that door with all the dignity a 10-year-old could carry. Bradley's voice followed him like a curse. "Next time you want to beg for money, try a homeless shelter or a street corner. That's more your natural habitat." Someone in the lobby actually laughed. A real laugh. Loud and cruel. Wesley reached the exit. His phone started ringing. The screen lit up. Uncle Lawrence calling. He tried to answer. His hands were shaking too bad. The phone slipped right out of his fingers, hit the marble floor. The screen cracked. Jerome picked it up. For one moment, their eyes met. In that moment, Wesley saw something he didn't expect. Shame. Bone-deep, soul-crushing shame. Jerome was drowning in it, but shame wasn't enough. Words were needed. Action was needed. Jerome handed the phone back, said nothing, let the boy walk out alone. Wesley pushed through those automatic doors. They closed behind him with this soft whoosh. Inside the bank, Bradley straightened his tie again, smiled at Chelsea. And that's how you handle it. Satisfaction was oozing out of every word. Give these people an inch, they'll take everything. Chelsea nodded. But her smile had faded. Something uncomfortable was stirring in her stomach. Bradley's phone buzzed. Email notification. Subject line: Urgent queue. For investor visit. Immediate preparation required. He glanced at it, deleted it without reading. Too busy, too important, too confident in his own power. He should have read that email. He really should have. Outside, the November wind cut right through Wesley's thin jacket. He sat down on a stone bench in the parking lot, drew his knees up to his chest, made himself as small as he could. The brown envelope with Grandma Eleanor's documents sat next to him, the cracked phone in his lap, the letter clutched in his fist, getting more wrinkled every second. He looked down at his shoes. The ones Bradley had mocked. The ones everyone had laughed at. Grandma Eleanor bought them at a thrift store last spring. $2. Wesley had been embarrassed at first. Other kids at school had Nikes and Jordans. Shoes don't make the man, baby, Grandma had said, kneeling down to tie the laces for him. Character does. And you've got more character in your little finger than most folks have in their whole bodies. She'd worn her own shoes until they literally fell apart, fixed them with tape and glue until they couldn't be fixed anymore. Wesley understood now why. Every dollar she didn't spend on herself was a dollar she saved for him. Tears fell onto that cracked phone screen. He didn't bother wiping them away. He tried calling Uncle Lawrence. Straight to voicemail. He sent a text, typing through tears. Uncle Lawrence, they kicked me out. They said I stole Grandma's card. They called me a thief. Then he waited. 1 minute. 3 minutes. 5 minutes. No response. The meeting must still be going. Uncle Lawrence always put his phone on silent during important meetings. He said it was professional courtesy. Wesley had nobody to call, nobody to help, nobody coming to save him. A woman walked past. Business suit, designer bag, perfect makeup. She saw the crying black boy on the bench, the one who'd just been thrown out of the bank. She'd watched the whole thing through the window. She kept walking. A man jogged by with his golden retriever. The dog wanted to stop and sniff Wesley. The man yanked the leash, hurried along. Cars pulled in and out of that parking lot. People entered the bank. People left the bank. Nobody stopped. Nobody asked if he was okay. Wesley was invisible, just like inside, just like always. He unfolded Grandma Eleanor's letter one more time. The paper was damp now, spotted with tears. My brave Wesley, the world will sometimes be cruel. People will judge you by your shoes, your clothes, the color of your skin. They will try to make you feel worthless. But you are not worthless. You are my greatest treasure. Everything I have saved, everything I have worked for, it's all yours now. Use it to fly high. Use it to prove them all wrong. And remember, dignity is not given, it is carried. Carry yours with pride, baby, always. All my love, forever and ever. Grandma Eleanor. She had made him a promise. Sitting in her little kitchen, eating chocolate chip pancakes. She'd promised, one day you'll walk into that bank, and they'll treat you like royalty, Wesley. They'll call you sir, and shake your hand. You'll see. Today they'd called him a beggar, a thief, a con artist. Today they'd thrown him out like garbage. Grandma Eleanor, wherever she was, must be heartbroken. Asterisk, asterisk. Inside the bank, the silence of complicity, asterisk, asterisk. Diane Campbell stood near the entrance, frozen. She'd come back, driven by guilt, pulled by conscience. She'd watched the whole scene through those glass doors, watched the boy sit on the bench, watched him cry alone, watched people walk past without stopping. She should go out there, sit with him, tell him it would be okay. But what would she say? What could she possibly say? She'd stood right there in that lobby, watched Bradley humiliate that child, heard the insults, the racism, the cruelty. And she'd done nothing, said nothing, just like everyone else. What right did she have to comfort him now? Jerome Davis stood at his post by the door. His eyes kept drifting to the parking lot, to that small figure on the bench. His chest felt tight. His hands wouldn't stop clenching. 11 years ago, Jerome had been that boy. Different bank, different city, same humiliation. A white manager had refused to cash his paycheck. Need extra verification for people like you. A security guard had tailed him around a store. Just doing my job, sir. A realtor had suddenly discovered an apartment was no longer available after seeing his face. 1,000 small cuts over a lifetime, some not so small. And now Jerome was the one in the uniform, the one following orders, the one enabling the cruelty. His younger self would be disgusted. He moved toward the door. Maybe he could just... Jerome. Bradley's voice cut through like a whip. Stop daydreaming. There's a delivery at the back entrance. Handle it. Jerome hesitated. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then he turned and walked toward the back. The moment passed. Outside, Wesley was still alone. But not for much longer. Asterisk, asterisk. The tables turn, asterisk, asterisk. A black Mercedes S-Class turned into that parking lot. Sleek, silent, expensive. It stopped near the entrance. The door opened, and everything was about to change. Lawrence Brooks stepped out of the Mercedes. 6'2", silver-gray suit that cost more than Bradley Whitmore's monthly salary. Silver at the temples. An aura of quiet authority that made people instinctively straighten up. He spotted Wesley immediately. His nephew. His late sister's only child. The last living piece of his mother, Eleanor, remaining in this world, sitting on a cold bench, crying, clutching a crumpled letter, completely alone. Lawrence's jaw tightened. A muscle twitched beneath his eye, the only visible sign of the fury building inside him. He walked to the bench, knelt down so he was at Wesley's eye level. Hey, champ. His voice was gentle, a complete contrast to everything Wesley had heard in the past hour. I'm here now. Wesley looked up, his face just crumpled completely. Uncle Lawrence. He threw himself into his uncle's arms, sobbed against his expensive shoulder, tears and snot staining that silk wool blend. Lawrence didn't care about the suit, didn't even notice. He held his nephew tight, didn't rush him, didn't ask questions, just let the boy cry until the shaking stopped. Tell me what happened. Wesley told him everything, every word, every insult, every laugh, every moment of humiliation. Lawrence listened in absolute silence. His face remained calm, controlled, but his eyes grew darker with each sentence, harder, colder. When Wesley finished, Lawrence stood up slowly. You did nothing wrong. His voice was firm as bedrock. Nothing. Do you understand me? This is not your fault. None of it. He paused. But they were wrong, and they're about to find out exactly how wrong. He took Wesley's hand, started walking toward the bank entrance. Wesley pulled back. I don't want to go back in there. Please, Uncle Lawrence, please. Lawrence stopped, knelt down again. I know, champ. I know it's scary, but sometimes we have to face the people who hurt us. He squeezed Wesley's hand. Not to fight them, not to yell at them, but to show them that they couldn't break us, that we're still standing, that they have no power over us. Wesley looked at those glass doors, at the marble lobby beyond, at the place where he'd been humiliated. He thought about Grandma Eleanor. What would she want him to do? Dignity is not given, it is carried. Okay, he whispered. Okay. A second car pulled into the parking lot, a luxury SUV with tinted windows. A woman stepped out, tall, elegant, professional. Patricia Edwards, Regional Director of First National Heritage Bank. She'd been driving to the quarterly investor visit, the one Bradley kept ignoring in his emails, when her phone rang. Lawrence Brooks on the line, CEO of Meridian Capital Holdings, the bank's largest institutional investor. He explained what had happened in exactly 60 seconds. Calm, factual, devastating. Patricia had immediately changed course. She approached Lawrence now, nodded respectfully. "Mr. Brooks, I cannot tell you how sorry I am. This is completely unacceptable, completely." Lawrence's expression didn't soften. "We'll discuss what's acceptable inside. My nephew deserves an apology, and I want to see exactly who we're dealing with." Patricia nodded. "Of course, whatever you need." They walked toward the entrance together. Lawrence, Patricia, Wesley. Wesley's heart pounded so hard he could feel it in his ears. His legs felt weak, rubbery, like they might give out. The last time he walked through these doors, he'd been thrown out like trash. Now he was walking back in with his uncle's hand warm around his, with a regional director beside them. He didn't understand everything that was happening, but he understood this. Something had shifted. The ground beneath his feet felt different. Asterisk, asterisk. The reckoning, asterisk, asterisk. The automatic doors slid open. The lobby fell silent. Every head turned. Bradley Whitmore saw Patricia Edwards first. His face went white as chalk. Regional Director, unannounced visit. This was very, very bad. He hurried over, adjusting his tie, forcing his VIP smile onto his face. "Miss Edwards, what a wonderful surprise." His voice was too loud, too eager. "We weren't expecting you until—" Plans changed. Patricia's voice could have frozen water. Then Bradley noticed the man beside her. Tall, distinguished. The kind of suit that screamed money and power. Holding hands with. Bradley's stomach dropped. The black kid. The one he'd just thrown out. The one he'd called a thief. A beggar. A con artist. The kid was back. And he was holding hands with someone who clearly mattered. "I'd like to introduce you to someone," Patricia said, her voice carried across that silent lobby. "This is Lawrence Brooks, founder and CEO of Meridian Capital Holdings." The name hit Bradley like a physical blow. Meridian Capital Holdings, the bank's largest institutional investor, 34% ownership of the parent company. The man who could make or break careers with a single phone call. That man that Lawrence Brooks was holding hands with the kid Bradley had just destroyed. "I believe you've already met my nephew," Lawrence said quietly. He stepped aside. Wesley stood there, eyes still red, grandmother's letter still clutched to his chest. But now he was standing straight, chin up, shoulders back. Bradley's face cycled through emotions like a slot machine. Confusion, recognition, dawning horror, pure terror. "I didn't, if I had known who he was." "That's exactly the problem," Lawrence said. "Isn't it?" Chelsea Morrison dropped her pen. It clattered against the marble floor like a gunshot in the silence. Jerome Davis, standing near the back now, felt something shift in his chest. Something that had been dead for 11 years, stirring back to life. Diane Campbell, still by the entrance, pressed both hands against her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. Every single person in that lobby was watching. The customers who had laughed, the employees who had enabled it, the bystanders who had stayed silent. All of them witnesses now to what was about to happen next. Lawrence released Wesley's hand. He walked toward Bradley slowly. Each step deliberate, each step measured. The walk of a man who knew his power and didn't need to rush. Bradley took a step backward. His back hit the marble counter. Nowhere to run. "Mr. Whitmore." Lawrence's voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The entire lobby was holding its breath. "My nephew came here today to check his account balance. His grandmother, my mother, left him that money as his inheritance. It's legally his, every penny." He paused. "Can you explain why he was denied service?" Bradley's mouth opened, closed, opened again. He looked like a fish drowning in air. "There were irregularities. We were just following standard protocol." "What irregularities?" Lawrence's voice remained calm, controlled. Somehow that made it more terrifying than shouting. "The account is properly documented. The funds have been verified by your own bank. What specific irregularity justified treating a 10-year-old child like a criminal? I didn't realize if I had known who he was. That's exactly the problem. Lawrence stepped closer. Bradley tried to press himself into the counter. There was nowhere to go. You didn't know who he was, so you decided he was nobody. You saw a black kid in worn-out shoes and you made a judgment. Not about protocols, not about policies. About who deserves to be treated like a human being. The words landed like hammer blows. My mother worked 40 years as an elementary school teacher. She rode the bus until she was 70 because she never wanted to waste money on a car. She wore the same winter coat for 15 years. She ate store-brand groceries so she could put money aside. Lawrence's voice didn't waver. If she had walked in here today, you would have treated her exactly the same way, laughed at her, humiliated her, thrown her out. Bradley said nothing. There was nothing to say. She would have deserved better. Just like Wesley. Just like every single person who walks through those doors. Lawrence turned to Patricia. Before we discuss consequences, I want Mr. Whitmore to see something. Patricia nodded. Lawrence walked to the main counter. Wesley followed, still holding his hand. Chelsea stood behind her computer, frozen. Her face was the color of old paper. Pull up my nephew's account, Lawrence said. It wasn't a request. Chelsea looked at Patricia. Patricia nodded once. Trembling fingers typed. The screen loaded slowly. Everyone held their breath. And there it was. Account balance, $487,263. Almost $500,000. 40 years of a teacher's salary. Every birthday card with money tucked inside. Every Christmas bonus. Every summer tutoring job. Every single dollar Eleanor Brooks had earned, saved, sacrificed. All for Wesley. Bradley stared at that number. His face went gray. His mouth fell open. No sound came out. Complete silence. Then Lawrence spoke. He laughed at your shoes. His voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of that lobby. He stopped laughing when he saw the balance. The number glowed on the screen. $487,263. Bradley couldn't stop staring at it. His brain couldn't process what his eyes were seeing. $500,000 in an account belonging to the kid he'd just called a beggar. That, Lawrence said, pointing at the screen, is the money my mother saved over 40 years. She rode buses in the rain so Wesley could go to college someday. She wore second-hand clothes so Wesley could have a future. She ate rice and beans for dinner so Wesley would never go hungry. He paused. Let the words sink in. And you almost took that away from him. Because of his shoes. Bradley finally found his voice. It came out cracked and desperate. I didn't know if I had known there was that much money. And that's the real problem. Lawrence's voice went cold, sharp as a blade. You would have treated him differently if you knew he had money. Your respect comes with a price tag, but human dignity doesn't. He looked at that number one more time. Then at Wesley. My mother always said something to me. A person who treats the waiter differently than the CEO has no character at all. He paused. Today you showed your character, Mr. Whitmore. The whole lobby saw it. Bradley had nothing to say, because Lawrence was right, and everyone knew it. Asterisk, asterisk, consequences, asterisk, asterisk. Patricia Edwards stepped forward. Her heels clicked against the marble like a countdown. Bradley, my office. Now. Bradley didn't move. Couldn't move. His legs had turned to concrete. Bradley, he blinked. Looked at Patricia. Then at Lawrence. Then at Wesley. The boy he had mocked. Insulted. Humiliated. Thrown out. The boy whose grandmother had trusted him with everything she'd ever earned. Bradley's career flashed before his eyes. 15 years, building relationships, climbing the ladder, corner office, company car, all of it crumbling like sand. I can explain, he whispered. You'll have that opportunity. Patricia's voice was ice and iron, in private. Now. She turned and walked toward the back offices. Bradley followed on unsteady legs. Lawrence watched them go. Then he knelt beside Wesley. You okay, champ? Wesley nodded slowly. His eyes were still fixed on that screen. Grandma saved all that. For me. Every single penny. She started the account the day you were born, added to it every month, never missed once, even when times were hard. But she never had nice things. Her apartment was so small. Because she was giving everything to you. Lawrence's voice was soft. That's what love looks like sometimes, Wesley. Sacrifice. Putting someone else's future ahead of your own comfort. Wesley thought about all the times Grandma Eleanor had said no to things for herself. The winter coat with the broken zipper. The ancient television that took 5 minutes to warm up. The reading glasses held together with tape. She could have had so much more. Instead, she gave it all to him. I'm going to make her proud, Wesley whispered. I promise. You already have, champ. Lawrence squeezed his shoulder. You already have. Asterisk, asterisk. Inside Bradley's office. Asterisk, asterisk. The temperature had dropped 20 degrees. Patricia sat in Bradley's chair, behind Bradley's desk, a deliberate choice. Lawrence stood by the window, arms crossed, a silent witness. Bradley sat in the visitor's chair, the cheap one, the one where customers sat when they came to beg for loans. I've already reviewed the security footage, Patricia said. She turned her laptop around, pressed play. Bradley watched himself laugh at Wesley, call him a beggar, threaten to call security, announce to the entire lobby that black kids don't belong in real banks. His own voice, his own words, his own cruelty, recorded forever. You violated 3 company policies. Patricia's voice was clinical, methodical. Discrimination based on race and appearance, denial of service without legitimate cause, and falsification of official records. Bradley's head jerked up. Falsification? Patricia pulled up a document. You filed an incident report 23 minutes ago. It states that Wesley Brooks was aggressive, threatening, and refused to provide proper identification when asked. She looked at him. The security footage shows a polite 10-year-old boy asking to check his account. It shows you laughing at him, insulting his race, and having him physically removed from the premises. I was protecting the bank's interests. You were protecting your prejudices. Patricia closed the laptop. There's a significant difference. She stood, walked around the desk, stood over Bradley like a judge about to deliver sentence. Effective immediately, you are suspended without pay. Your Q4 bonus, all $35,000 of it, is forfeit. A full HR investigation will begin tomorrow morning. If it confirms discriminatory intent, and based on this footage it will, termination for cause will follow. Bradley's face crumbled like wet paper. 15 years. I gave this bank 15 years. And in 15 years you should have learned that every customer deserves basic respect. Patricia opened the door. Security will escort you to collect your personal belongings. Your access credentials have already been revoked. Bradley stood. His legs barely supported him. He looked at Lawrence one last time, searching for mercy, finding none. If he wasn't your nephew, you're right. Lawrence's voice was quiet, devastating. If he wasn't my nephew, he would have walked out with nothing, filed a complaint that would have been ignored, maybe called a lawyer who would have told him it wasn't worth pursuing. He paused. That's exactly the problem, Mr. Whitmore. He shouldn't need me to be treated like a human being. No one should. Bradley had no response. He walked out of his own office, past his own employees, through his own lobby. For the last time. Asterisk, asterisk, others, face, consequences, asterisk, asterisk. Chelsea Morrison was next. She sat in the same meeting room where she'd whispered about Wesley, smirked at his humiliation, enabled Bradley's cruelty. Now she was in the hot seat. You didn't start this, Patricia said, but you participated in it. You reinforced Mr. Whitmore's behavior. You failed to intervene when a child was being abused. Chelsea's mascara ran down her cheeks in black rivers. I knew it was wrong. Her voice cracked. I didn't want to make trouble. I didn't want to be the one who... Silence is not neutral, Miss Morrison. Silence is a choice, and it has consequences. Patricia outlined the disciplinary measures. Formal reprimand, mandatory training, permanent note in her file, 0 tolerance for any future incidents. Chelsea nodded through her tears, accepted everything. She had learned something today. The lesson had cost her dignity, but at least she still had a job. Jerome Davis stood by the entrance after his meeting with Lawrence. Not a formal meeting, just two men talking. You picked up his phone when he dropped it, Lawrence said. You handed it back to him. It wasn't enough. No, it wasn't. Lawrence didn't soften the truth, but it was something. A small kindness in a moment when he had none. I should have done more. I should have said something. I should have. You should have. Yes. Lawrence looked at him steadily. The question is, what will you do next time? Jerome thought about his mortgage, his kids, his pension. Then he thought about Wesley, 10 years old, crying on a bench, completely alone. Next time I speak up, he said. No matter what. Lawrence nodded, extended his hand. Jerome shook it. It wasn't absolution. It wasn't forgiveness. It was a promise. To himself, to Wesley, to every person he might be able to help in the future. A promise he intended to keep. Diane Campbell had been waiting through all the meetings, all the drama, all the reckoning. She was still there when Wesley and Lawrence walked toward the exit. Wait. Her voice came out strangled. Please. They stopped. Diane approached slowly. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. I'm so sorry. The words tumbled out. I was there. I saw everything. I should have said something. I should have defended you. But I stood there like a coward. Wesley looked at her, this woman who had watched his humiliation in silence. He thought about Grandma Eleanor. What would she say? Forgiveness isn't about them, baby. It's about setting yourself free. You came back, Wesley said quietly. That matters. Diane's tears fell faster. I'm filing a complaint. A formal one. As a witness. Everything I saw. Everything they said. It goes on the record. Lawrence nodded. That takes courage. It takes less courage than your nephew showed today. Diane looked at Wesley. He stood there and took everything they threw at him. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He just endured, with dignity. I don't know if I could have done that. Wesley didn't know what to say, so he said the only thing that felt true. Thank you for coming back. Diane nodded, wiped her eyes, walked to customer service to file her complaint. One small act of courage. It was a start. Asterisk, asterisk. The ripple effect, asterisk, asterisk. The news spread through the bank like wildfire. By closing time, everyone knew. Bradley Whitmore, 15-year veteran, branch manager, terminated for cause. The official reason, violation of company policies regarding customer service and professional conduct. The real reason spread through whispers and texts. He mocked a black kid, called him a beggar, threw him out. Turns out the kid's uncle owns a third of the bank. By the next morning, it was regional news. By the following week, national. Not the details. Those were kept private to protect Wesley. But the story got out. Bank manager fired for discriminating against a child. Major investor involved. Complete corporate accountability. People talked about it, argued about it, shared their own stories. It became a moment. Bradley Whitmore's termination was finalized within 72 hours. No severance, no recommendation letter, no pension benefits beyond what was legally required. 15 years of work. Gone in 15 minutes. He applied to other banks. Word had spread. No one would hire him. He ended up managing a check-cashing store in a strip mall 3 towns over, helping the same kinds of people he used to mock. Some called it karma. Others called it justice. Bradley called it nothing. He didn't have the words. Chelsea Morrison kept her job. Barely. She completed every training module, showed up early, stayed late, never smirked at another customer again. 6 months later, she transferred to a different branch, needed a fresh start. 6 months after that, she quit banking entirely, went back to school, became a social worker. She spent her days helping families navigate systems designed to exclude them, the same systems she had once enforced. The irony wasn't lost on her. Neither was the lesson. 3 weeks after the incident, Jerome Davis faced his first test. A young Hispanic woman came into the bank, nervous, uncertain. Her English wasn't perfect. She struggled to explain what she needed. A new teller, young, impatient, was getting frustrated. His sighs were getting louder, his eye rolls more obvious. Jerome walked over. "Is there a problem here?" The teller started to explain. Jerome cut him off. "This woman is a customer. She deserves patience and respect. Help her properly or I will find someone who can." The teller's eyes went wide. He apologized, helped the woman with genuine care. Jerome went back to his post. His heart was pounding, his hands were shaking. But he had spoken up. For the first time in 11 years, he had spoken up. And it felt like breathing after being underwater for too long. ****. Systemic changes. ***. Patricia Edwards didn't stop with Bradley. Within 3 months, she implemented sweeping changes across the entire region. Mandatory bias training. Every employee, every quarter, no exceptions. New customer service protocols. Every inquiry handled within 15 minutes, regardless of appearance. Mystery shoppers hired to test compliance. An anonymous reporting hotline for customers and staff alike. Zero tolerance for discrimination. A small plaque mounted at every entrance. Every customer deserves respect. First National Heritage Bank. It wasn't revolutionary. It wouldn't fix centuries of systemic racism overnight, but it was a start, a real one. Patricia made one more change, a personal one. She called Lawrence Brooks directly. "I want to do more than just discipline bad behavior," she said. "I want to honor your mother's legacy. What would that look like?" Lawrence thought about it, talked to Wesley, talked to his memories of Eleanor. A week later, they announced it. The Eleanor Brooks Memorial Scholarship. Named after Wesley's grandmother. Funded by the bank. Administered by a community foundation. Every year, 2 scholarships awarded. Full tuition, books, living expenses. Recipients, students from underserved communities pursuing degrees in education. Teachers teaching future teachers. Eleanor Brooks's legacy. Multiplied. The first recipients would be announced the following fall. The selection committee would include community leaders, educators, and one very special advisor, Wesley Brooks, 10 years old, already changing the world. When Lawrence told him about the scholarship, Wesley was quiet for a long time. They named it after Grandma. They did. So her dream keeps living. So she keeps helping kids, even though she's gone. Wesley looked at the framed photo on his dresser. Grandma Eleanor smiling, wearing her old coat and her old shoes. "She would have cried," Wesley said. "Happy tears." "Yeah." Lawrence's voice was thick. "She would have." Wesley walked to his closet, pulled out his worn-out sneakers, the ones Bradley had laughed at. He placed them on his shelf next to the photo. He would never throw them away. Never. The video The video surfaced 3 weeks after the incident. Not from the bank's security cameras. Those were sealed. From a customer's phone. The young professional who had been filming that day, he'd meant to post it for laughs. Drama at the bank, easy engagement, quick views. But then he'd watched what happened after. Watched Lawrence arrive. Watched Bradley crumble. Watched justice unfold in real time. And he felt something unexpected. Shame. He had stood there filming, laughing, entertained by a child's humiliation. What kind of person did that make him? He deleted the original video, but guilt lingered, festered, wouldn't let him sleep. 3 weeks later, he posted something different. His own face, his own confession. "I was there that day. I watched a bank manager humiliate a 10-year-old black boy for wearing old shoes. I watched. I laughed. I filmed it like it was entertainment. I was wrong. I was part of the problem. That kid showed more courage than anyone in that lobby, including me. Especially me. So if you ever see something like this happening, don't watch. Don't film. Don't laugh. Speak up, because silence makes you complicit. I learned that the hard way. Don't be like me." The video went viral. 3 million views in 5 days. Comments flooded in, people sharing their own stories, their own shame, their own promises to do better. A national conversation started about bias, about assumptions, about the snap judgments we make based on appearance. Wesley never saw the video. Lawrence made sure of that. The boy had been through enough, but the message spread anyway. One small act of honesty. One confession. Millions of conversations. Change doesn't come from big moments. It comes from countless small ones. This was one of them. Asterisk, asterisk. 8 years later. Asterisk, asterisk. Wesley Brooks walked across a sun-drenched campus. Georgetown University. First day of freshman orientation. 18 years old now. Tall, confident. A far cry from the frightened 10-year-old in the marble lobby, but not entirely different. He still carried his grandmother's letter, laminated and protected now, tucked safely in his wallet, close to his heart. And on the shelf in his dorm room sat a pair of worn-out sneakers, cracked soles, frayed laces, faded from years of careful display. His roommate noticed them immediately. "Bro, are those your shoes? They're completely destroyed." Wesley smiled. "They're the most valuable thing I own." "Valuable?" "They look like they belong in a trash can." Wesley picked them up gently, ran his thumb over the cracked leather. "My grandmother bought these for me when I was 10, $2 from a thrift store. She apologized because she couldn't afford better." He set them back on the shelf. "She saved $500,000 for my education, wore the same coat for 15 years, took the bus in the rain, ate cheap food so I could have a future." He looked at his roommate. "These shoes remind me that love isn't about what you have, it's about what you give." His roommate was quiet for a long moment. "That's actually really beautiful, man." "Yeah." Wesley touched the shoes one more time. She was really beautiful. Asterisk, asterisk. The legacy continues, asterisk, asterisk. Lawrence Brooks continued running Meridian Capital. But he made changes, too. He started a mentorship program for young people from underserved communities. Paid internships, real opportunities, actual career paths. Not charity. Investment. Talent is distributed equally, he told his board. Opportunity isn't. We can change that. The Eleanor Brooks Memorial Scholarship flourished. 14 recipients in 8 years. Teachers, counselors, principals. All carrying Eleanor's legacy forward. All teaching future generations. Jerome Davis retired from the bank 3 years after the incident, but he didn't disappear. He became a school resource officer. Different kind of security, protecting kids instead of removing them. Every time he stood up for a student, he thought of Wesley. Every time he spoke against injustice, he honored the promise he'd made. He never stayed silent again. Not once. Diane Campbell joined the bank's community advisory board. The woman who had watched in silence became a voice for change. She volunteered at schools, spoke to students about courage, about speaking up, about the cost of silence. "I was a bystander once," she told them. "I chose to stay quiet. It's a choice I regret every single day. Don't make my mistake." Chelsea Morrison found her redemption in social work. She spent her days helping families like the ones she used to dismiss. She never forgot Wesley, never forgot how close she had come to being exactly like Bradley. She was different now. Not perfect, but genuinely different. Bradley Whitmore. Nobody really knew what happened to Bradley. Some said he moved to another state, started over, changed his name. Some said he never recovered, drank himself into obscurity. Some said he finally understood what he'd done, spent his days volunteering at shelters, trying to make amends. Nobody knew for sure. Maybe that was its own kind of justice. Asterisk, asterisk. Full circle, asterisk, asterisk. Wesley stood at his dorm window as the sun set over Georgetown. Tomorrow classes would start, his future would begin. He pulled out his grandmother's letter, read it one more time, the words he knew by heart. "My brave Wesley, never let anyone make you feel small. You are worth more than they will ever know. Dignity is not given, it is carried. Carry yours with pride." He had carried it through the worst day of his life. Through years of growing up, through the journey that brought him here. His phone buzzed. "Uncle Lawrence. First day tomorrow. How are you feeling, champ?" "Nervous. Excited. Ready. Your grandma would be so proud of you." "I know." Wesley looked at the worn-out shoes on his shelf. "I think about her every day." "She's with you, Wesley. always will be. They talked for a few more minutes. Then Wesley hung up. He had orientation to attend, a future to build, a legacy to honor. He grabbed his backpack, brand new, expensive, a gift from Uncle Lawrence. But on his feet were the old sneakers, the ones he'd brought to campus, the ones he wore on special occasions. Today felt like a special occasion. Wesley Brooks walked out of his dorm room into his future, carrying his dignity with pride. Just like Grandma Eleanor taught him, asterisk, asterisk, the message asterisk, asterisk. Respect is not a reward for success. It's not earned by money, fancy clothes, or knowing the right people. It's the baseline of humanity, the minimum we owe each other. Wesley Brooks didn't need a powerful uncle to deserve basic decency. No one does. But that day in the bank, he learned something important. Some people measure your worth by your shoes, others by your wallet. A few rare ones measure it by your character. Be one of the rare ones. And if you ever find yourself in a lobby watching someone be humiliated, ask yourself, which person do you want to be? The one who laughed? The one who filmed? The one who stayed silent? Or the one who spoke up? The choice is yours. It's always yours. Dignity is not given. It is carried. Carry yours with pride, and help others carry theirs. That's how we change the world. One small act of courage at a time. If this story reminded you of something you've witnessed or something you stayed silent about, share it. Not for us. For the next Wesley who walks in somewhere alone and needs someone to speak up.